welcome to our latest webinar here at Sparwell. And with me, I've got the amazing Kay from Scrummi. Kay has worked for 9 years at Scrummi, and both she and I clicked during my time at South Lodge, laughing at the fact that neither of us started our careers thinking we would be knowledgeable on waste and composter rockets.
Yes, it's a fascinating subject, but neither of us thought we would be interested in. Funnily enough, I actually got to see a rocket. Can you believe?
Oh, really? Come on, tell me more.
So a bit of a divert here already. Um, but we support a charity called Communigrow at Scrummy, and they're a sustainable food education charity. I am going to lead on to the rocket from this. Um, they use horticulture to connect people to connect them, reconnect them to where their food comes from, and it's often vulnerable people, and it also benefits their physical and mental well-being by being in the natural environment. So coming on to the rocket, we sponsor their events, and we also have a volunteer day, which you can see here. You can see we're building a lovely pond.
Brilliant.
There I am on the right. I haven't got any end results. I have to share that later. And we also provide used towels for things like mulch and weed suppression. And also they use it for their composter rocket because they need dry materials as well as wet materials. And here you can see I am fascinated by the said rocket.
It's interesting because, as you say, this is a conversation we have every time we meet. But what I'd really love to do is learn a little bit more about your career. Can you kind of sort of start off with how you got to where you are with being with Scrummy?
Absolutely, yeah. Something not everybody knows about me is that I didn't come into business, I guess, the usual way.
Mhm.
I actually worked for many years as a singer. I trained at a theatre school, and I worked in hotels and cruise ships. And I decided after I'd done that and had some amazing adventures that I wanted a bit more structure. So I settled down, and got a job as an account manager for an agency, and they ran experiential events and campaigns in retail, that provided people to the hair and beauty brands within. And their retail was European duty-free stores, and that was inside and airside and airport, so quite niche, but my knowledge of skincare and beauty allowed me to transition to the fantastic Scrummy family and represent what we did at Scrummy to brands and beauty businesses. I was really super excited to join because I was interested in sustainability and I wanted to learn more. It was a really good time to join because Scrummy were at that point establishing these fantastic partnerships with brands, lovely brands like Dermalogica, Elemis, Clarins, and they, as sort of drivers in this industry, helped us to define what Scrummy needed to provide, what our offering was to this industry.
Um, I love the photos here, the turbans, the the hair wraps, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah,
For those,
because we're not just in spa, we also are hair drying towels as well. It's a
they're
big part of what
brilliant,
we do.
very well
Yeah,
modelled by Rob.
yeah,
And for those people who don't know who Scrummy are, can you give us a bit of a rundown?
absolutely. So our mission as an organisation and a business is to liberate the planet from laundry. So we do this by manufacturing and supplying sustainable and sustainably made biodegradable towels and accessories for hair, for the skin, and for the body. The products are made specifically for professional beauty and the spa sector, where high volume towel use is prevalent.
And what are the towels made of?
Oh, good question. So the towels start their life as a wood cellulose. So they are made predominantly, it's sort of cedar eucalyptus, and that's all sourced from, you can see the life cycle here, that's sourced from uh, forests where they have a certification in place where they have regulations that means that they never over cut down wood. They're actually replenishing the forest. They're also looking after things like ecology. That then gets made into these fibres get water jets sprayed across them that makes them into a fabric. And that's quite a low carbon process. It's not a lot of electricity. The water gets naturally cleaned and recycled. And then we cut that into its end product. So we've got mitts, we've got headbands, we've got hair towels, drying towels, we've got bed towels, and then it gets used. And that's sort of a really big part of the use of the product, is a really massive area where this mission that we have to reduce laundry comes into play, because it's doing exactly that. And it's also got lots of other benefits such as hygiene. It doesn't feel like something that's one use. It feels lovely, waffly. um, and it saves time, saves money, it saves chemicals, which we'll talk more about later. And then at end of life, you can dispose of the product, and it breaks down between 6 to 12 weeks with access to air, moisture, and light. So that photosynthesis action, and it becomes compost in essence. And that's the life cycle, and that's what our products are.
Wow, 12 weeks. That's not that long actually, is it, for it to decompost? And so how did Scrummy actually come about though?
So you've seen him in the pictures on the left here. This is Mr. Rob Cooper. He is the founder and managing director of Scrummy. Many people in the industry will know Rob. He came from generations of people in his family who worked in textiles, way back to a great grandfather who was a rag and bone man.
Wow.
And he spoke to a hairdresser who explained the challenges she had around noise pollution and heat, and the amount of space her washers and dryers were taking up. And he knew that he could come up with a solution for that. But he was passionate about two things. The first thing was it had to be fit for purpose. So when he first launched Scrummy, it was for drying hair. So you needed to make sure the product was the right size, it was the right texture, the right thickness, so that it would do that. So that's where we came up with our signature waffle texture.
Mhm.
And the second thing he was really passionate about was that sustainability. So he made sure the wood fibres were being sourced from the right place. He made sure the whole life cycle in terms of the transport. We were using people like DPD who are using electric vehicles. Every stage of the product's life cycle had been considered. And that has led us to be able to become a B Corporation, which is a company that cares about the way we do what we do, and it has a good effect on people and the planet. It's not just profit. And here on the right, you can see a picture of our products coming in their lovely boxes. So that's, I think, in essence, that's the Scrummy story.
Perfect. And B Corp is becoming so much more of a point for businesses
Mm.
who want to work B Corp to B Corp. So I think having that standard is just so powerful for a brand.
Yes.
But anyway, getting to the subject we're here to talk about today, watershed wellness and how single use can be more sustainable than reusable in the water crisis era. Wow, what a title. I think we might need to start by being able to break that down into a couple of things.
Absolutely. Okay, so shall we start with Watershed Wellness?
Yeah.
Amazing. So, Watershed Wellness was something, Sarah, that you kindly introduced the term to me, and it did actually, in fact, send me down a rabbit hole of research.
Brilliant.
So the term was first coined by Jane Kitchen, who's a journalist, and she did that for the Global Wellness Summit trends. And I read the report, and in a short term, that I decipher that as the responsibility of the spa and wellness industry to act against water scarcity, especially because spas are so deeply connected to water. We as an industry have to preserve and protect this vital resource in a water crisis era.
Yeah, and so that leads us on to what is a water crisis era?
Absolutely. So it does. There's a lot of information out there about this. So, what I've done for our purposes today is I found 5 facts or pieces of news that just stood out to me because they are quite close to home,
Mm.
and all indicating that across the world, the water demand is higher than what is available. So, when I speak about water, especially when I'm sort of selling our product, I'm saying you're reducing water. A lot of people respond, well, we live in England, it rains all the time. And my question back to that, my response is, did you have a hose pipe ban this year?
Mm.
Because that has got to be an indicator that it is a problem. And I find it scary that in more recent years, it's become a regular occurrence. I read somewhere that in 2023, a school had to close as they
Wow.
didn't have enough water to drink or wash their hands. So that's my first fact for you. My second fact, there's an organisation called BOSAQ, BOSAQ, and it's a circular water company. And they say that London is soon to see what's known as day zero. What that means is water reserves will become so low that supplies are turned off and water becomes rationed.
Wow.
And that in London, the problem is due to the main water supply coming from a polluted river, and Victorian era pipes leaking and letting us down. So it makes you think again when you get stuck in traffic due to a leaking pipe.
Yes.
Um, my third fact, by 2050, the UN warns that half of the world's population will face water stress. My fourth fact for you, the International Commission for the Protection of the, I want to try and say this right, the Danube River,
Mhm.
have said that phosphates in household laundry detergents account for 16% of phosphate loads entering this river basin, the Danube Basin. It's one of Europe's most critical water systems. So what happens with the phosphates is it fuels algae blooms, and eutrophication. And it's led to countries like Germany, Austria, the Czech Republic. They've put a ban or they're limiting phosphates in laundry detergents. And my fifth fact, final fact for you. The Angling Trust UK, they tested our local rivers between 2023 and 24, and they found that over a third of fresh water, they breached the limits in up to 45% of sites. That's the third, making water unfit for agriculture, industrial use, or drinking without significant treatment.
Wow. Thanks for sharing those facts. I think it's great to bring it nearer to home, isn't it? Because like you say, we say it's raining. There's no
Oh,
water
yeah.
problem, but it's the water quality. It seems to be the sort of issue that we're having. And you mentioned a little bit of the science of eutrophication. Can you tell us what that is?
My pleasure. It is the process by which water bodies become overly enriched with nutrients. So
Ah,
it leads to excessive algae bloom. Laundry detergents have been identified as contributors to this, from phosphates used to soften water. So it's four reasons why it's really not good news for humans. So the algae blooms produce toxins that can cause health problems in humans. Cleaning algae polluted water can be expensive, making clean drinking water less affordable and accessible. Oxygen depletion kills fish and disrupts ecosystems, and that affects fisheries and food supply. And polluted water used for irrigation, for farming with high nutrients, can harm crops, and reduce yields. So it overall increases that water scarcity piece.
that's interesting. So does
Mhm.
all of our water come from the lakes and rivers then? Is that why this is so important?
Sort of. So if you take a look at this image, not all of Earth's water is fresh water that we can use, humans, for drinking and bathing. Actually, only 3% of it is.
Mm,
And only 1% of that is easily accessible to us. So
wow.
our fresh water currently comes from a few sources to answer your question. So, surface water like lakes, rivers, and reservoirs, groundwater from underground aquifers, so soil and rock beds, that's often accessed through wells. Sometimes we use melting snow or glaciers, and in some places, rainwater is harvested or seawater is desalinated. For the exercise of what we're going through today, it might be useful to look at how another way that we also categorize water when we're using it. So blue water, this is going to be talked about most today. This is rivers, lakes, and aquifers. The water is used in irrigation, agriculture, manufacturing, drinking, bathing. Green water is the water that comes from rain. It's stored in soil and it's used by rain-fed crops, such as the wood that goes into making scrummy.
Yeah.
Grey water is polluted water from human use, such as laundry, sewage, or bathing.
Okay. And so before we launch into why single use can help in a water crisis, is there anything else that we should know?
Yes, there's a couple of benchmarks that I investigated when I was doing some comparison work around the differences of our cellulosic products to other options in the context of water. So, what I'll do is I'll hopefully quickly take you through them. One of them is more technical than the other. So, this is the most technical one. So, this is Aware. It's a recognised tool which can be used to indicate the impact of a product, service, or process and how it affects water scarcity in a particular region. So, this is about water quantity. So, it's AWARE stands for available water remaining. And so, this second part of the sentence, per area in a watershed relative to the world average, I'll take you through that now. So, it was developed by WULCA, WULCA, a working group, a project under the Lifecycle initiative. And it's so talking you through that second part of the sentence, it's calculated as the water available minus the demands of humans and aquatic ecosystems and is relative to the area.
Okay.
So this is when it starts to get even more technical. In a second step, the value is then normalized with the world average result and inverted, and then represents the relative value in comparison with the average square meter water consumed in the world. So just when I'm talking about it, the results range from 0.1 to 100. So you can kind of get a grasp. A value of 1 would probably be the world average, and a value of 10 would. So for example, if a product or service gives a value of 10, that means it's in a region where there's 10 times less available water remaining per area than the world average. And the map here just shows the factors at an annual level per watershed, so normal average over 12 months. So for the exercise that I'm about to take you through, I've used a simple method to get an AWARE score based on two things. So for each towel type I looked at the blue water consumption, so the irrigation, processing, washing, and how much was used per functional unit, so per towel or use. And then the second thing was I looked at typical production regions and known AWARE factors. So I loosely mapped water usage to the regional AWARE factors for common textile producing countries for the materials we're talking about. I hope that's helpful and not too confusing.
I kind of get it.
But do feel free to anybody who wants to look into it. It's WULCA. You can research a bit more about AWARE there. And the second thing, a lot less technically heavy, so I want to talk about is ecotoxicity. So actually, Sarah, I'm really pleased that you said about it's not actually quality, it's quantity. So this isn't a term we just use for water, ecotoxicity. Its a general meaning is the harmful effects of chemical substances on ecosystems. However, I've included it in my comparisons because I can see that if ecosystems are harmed, then this is going to have a circular cause and effect with water scarcity. The two are quite symbiotic. So if you're interested in a real world case study of how ecotoxicity has impacted water scarcity, you might want to investigate the Aral Sea Basin in Central Asia. And there was a shocking documentary by Stacey Dooley where she highlighted the effects of the cotton textile industry on the third largest lake in the world. And due to the water diversion and pesticides from the farming of the cotton, the long-term ecological toxicity of chemicals in a water-scarce region led to a massive humanitarian, environmental and economic disaster. I think it's a shocking bit of journalism showing the deep connection between water mismanagement to ecotoxicity to water scarcity. It's a circular storm.
Wow, this is a really visual way of showing it. This is incredible. And do we have all the info now?
Yes, yeah, I think so.
Wow. So you know what my next question is going to be. How can single use be more sustainable in the water crisis era?
It's a great question, and that's why we're here. And I totally get that this is counterintuitive. If
Mm,
you think about a one-use item, it goes against everything we're taught about with the three R's: reduce, reuse, recycle. However, the research that we've done at Scrummy does suggest that what we're doing is reducing, in this exercise, contaminated water
yeah.
by reducing laundry where water scarcity is a concern. And under certain conditions, a sustainable alternative to an item that's laundered will have a lower contaminated water footprint.
Ah, okay. So how can you tell us how that can be?
Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm going to take you through my sort of analysis of it now. So I'm looking at it in two pillars. First, I'm doing some comparisons on the raw wheat resource of what's in an item, and then the farming and the manufacture of that item, and then I'm going to look at it from the in-use part of it as well, like the laundering part. What I'm going to do is compare three materials that could be laundered in a spa operation. So ultimately we're thinking about how can spas reduce their water usage and help in the water crisis era. So a choice of what towel you're going to use is going to help with that. So we're looking at a cellulosic towel with TUV Austria seedling certification. That means that it's compostable, because not all of them are, and FSC. So those have to be, in my comparison, it has to be that type of towel, a cotton towel or a microfibre towel. So these are the comparables that we're looking at, and that's why I wanted to take you through eutrophication, water scarcity, and just an ecotoxicity, because I'm looking at these six things. So blue water use, aware score, grey water pollution, ecotoxicity, eutrophication, and post-use water risk as well. Okie dokie, so this is my comparison. So this is in the resource and the farming and manufacturing stage of these three materials life cycle. So if we start on the left with Scrummi, so it has to be a seedling FSC-certified fabric. It's 250 to 600 litres to grow and manufacture this product per item. It's green, naturally occurring soil, rainwater fed to grow resources of these trees. And in the manufacturing, the water is reused and biologically cleaned. The grey water pollution, that sort of pollution at end of life, is low risk. I've got on a, so in terms of moving on to aware score, sorry. Aware, so if you remember, 1 is the world average and Scrummy falls below that. The other options go slightly over.
Ah,
Ecotoxicity, so there's minimal chemical discharge and wastewater treatment, and it's biodegradable, so it's not going to stick around. It also, haven't got to the laundry yet. Eutrophication is low, so there's no runoff in the manufacture stage like phosphorus entering waterways. It doesn't rely on fertilizers, manure, or pesticides to grow. And the post-water risk, there is none. It biodegrades cleanly, it just becomes compostable. So moving on to cotton. So to grow, so yeah, I had a little look at this many years ago, and the World Wildlife Foundation coined cotton as biodegradable. Sorry, they coined it as environmentally unsustainable, and the main reason was the amount of water it takes to grow cotton, which is what we saw in the journalism Stacey Dooley did. It takes 10,000 to 20,000 litres per item, like per towel or per t-shirt, to sort of farm that amount of cotton and manufacture it. Grey
wow.
water pollution, so kind of medium there. It uses agriculture and it uses dye in its manufacture as well. So the aware score is anywhere from 0.5 to 1.4 cubic meter. Ecotoxicity, again, medium. So there's pesticides, herbicides, fertilizers, and a dyeing process involved.
Mm.
Eutrophication, and this, I mean, there are many different types of cotton out there. There are some organic, and I'm sure that, this doesn't apply, but I'm looking at a general cotton towel here. Eutrophication moderate, so there's phosphorus runoff from fertilizers when you grow the raw resource for this, nutrient leaching from intensive irrigation, and soil erosion.
Mm.
The post-use water risk is fairly low. There's no leaching, and it does break down moderately, not 6 to 12 weeks, obviously. But yeah, that's where it comes in with that one. So moving on to microfibre, its actual manufacture, the water use is very low, 100 to 500 litres. So in terms of grey water pollution in its sort of beginning of life, the resource manufacture is medium. So it's a polyester or nylon, and it's dyed in a chemically intensive way. So it's made from petroleum-based plastics, which can introduce hydrocarbons and processing residues into water.
Mm.
An aware score, I think it's similar, isn't it, to cotton really, 0.5 to 1.4 cubic meter. Ecotoxicity is medium to high. It's chemically high production process. Eutrophication is low. There's no fertilizers when it's being manufactured, and the production happens indoors. So it's not outdoor, where you're growing cotton outdoors and you're using fertilizers. It's not that. And post-use water risk is high because of microplastics that don't break down. So here's just a visual for you of those normalized units, so you can have a little look at what that looks visually.
Wow, that really represents it, doesn't it? The very difference when you can see it in a graph like that. That's really fascinating.
Yeah.
What about in use in our, obviously this shows the sort of manufacturing process, but what about use in our spas?
Yes, I have prepared something for you. Okie dokie. So the information for a cellulosic towel remains a 0 because it's not washed. It's a one-time use, so it's why at point of use the sustainability savings are 90% upwards. No less water, energy. So yeah, I won't take you through this, Scrummy. At end of life, it biodegrades as well because it's not being washed or laundered. So cotton, I've done my scores here based on 100 washes. I'm not sure if they would last for 100 washes, especially because we have to do it on quite high temperatures when we dry them as well, and to make sure they're clean because they've got oils in them. But I've done that to be fair. So a blue water use when they're being washed per towel, for 100 washes, 15,000 to 30,000 litres.
Wow.
Grey water pollution is high because of the chemical detergent. Water scarcity jumps up 0.8 to 2 cubic meters. Don't forget 10 represents a water scarcity problem. Ecotoxicity is high. There's chemical detergents, laundry additive, surfactants. So surfactants are surface active agents used in detergents, and they help water mix with oils and dirt, making it easier to wash them away. So in simpler terms, they help water clean by breaking down grease and dirt. However, it's really toxic to aquatic life. Eutrophication is high because of the phosphates, and post-use water risk is medium because of detergent leaching, and it breaks down moderately. Microfibre, you don't need as much water with microfibre to wash them, so 100 to 1,000 litres. Grey water pollution is high, the chemical detergents and also the microplastics. Water scarcity isn't too bad, actually, 0.01 to 0.1. Ecotoxicity is high because of the detergent, the laundry additives, and the surfactants again. Eutrophication is high because of the detergents, and post-use water risk is high because of microplastics and detergent leaching, and it never, ever, ever breaks down.
No, no.
Again, a couple of visuals for you on the in-use sort of washing stage of a normalized impact. So you can see the slight variation in the line graph between microfibre and cotton, which is different to the production stage.
Yes.
And for anyone like me, who's a bit of a geek, who likes to visualize things in different ways, I've also looked at it on the next slide from each specific challenge. And then I'll move on to a slide per material, where I've actually merged both production and washing stats. So this is the one per problem. So this is each of our materials here per problem. Sorry, got a real close up of me there. And then this is each of our materials here, including both production and washing. So you've got down the left the problems, and then a normalized score on the bottom axis. So it's cotton, microfibre, and then a cellulosic towel. So there you go.
Wow. Okay, that is a lot of info to take in and absorb. I think you'll probably need to share the presentation if that's okay.
And there's some links in there as well.
Oh, thank you so much for the time for looking into how single-use textiles can support spas in reducing water usage. It's really interesting, and especially when you see it from the graph point of view as well, because I think it's understanding the production and the usage in the spa. Was there anything else you'd like to add or perhaps say to wrap up today?
Absolutely. Yes, thank you. It's a pleasure to do this today, and I'm really passionate about areas that a single-use system can support a spa. And there are many other factors or comparables that I can talk about when it comes to reducing laundry.
Yeah.
Of course I can. So we looked at water today, but I could look at global warming score, energy use, carbon output, compostability. However, I think I gave you all enough to consider with water.
There's a lot of input there.
It's a really big subject. However, I hope it can give some inspiration towards really small, conscious choices that a spa can make towards reducing any impact on water scarcity. Yeah.
I do have one final question. How do you think a spa can maintain a feel of luxury and identity while also reducing water and using single-use alternatives?
That's a really good final question. So we think that reusable branded cotton towels or beautifully coloured microfibre blankets can be a necessity for a spa treatment room in some cases. And what we do say is that by the right combination of this, partnered by Scrummi, can significantly reduce the phosphate-filled water leaving a spa from laundry. Or not your physical spa, but your third-party launderers, for example. So it's worth considering how even just one less towel, blanket, or pair of mitts and a headband per treatment not washed could make an impact. And we're always willing to work in partnership with other brands on this. I thought I might show you a couple of case studies of how it can look. So this is the Fairmont Windsor Park, and they're using our wrap sheets under duvet covers. And you can see at the bottom picture there is a microfiber blanket there, but they're protecting the bottom bit with the Scrummi, so it's a combination. And a lovely little quote there from a spa manager at the Fairmont. It really works in the luxury high-end spa. Therapists love the ease of changing the beds. They work really well alongside the duvets, and the clients comment on the softness and ask about it. Yeah. And then here you can see our grey product as well. Sorry. And then you can see how even in like how we sort of train and sort of talk about how Scrummi can use, how it's used in combination with number one, a blanket on top, and then the Scrummies in between, like a Scrummy sandwich. There's a little video here. And there you go.
Yeah, that's good. I think because there is this need to balance what works for the guest and the spa and things, and I think it's great to see how you're kind of saying, yes, it's good to go down the sort of the using the single use, and actually now it's presented in a way where you know, as a business you can say, yeah, that's great, I can do that. You're also showing here how actually you can use the traditional way of using towels where or blankets to kind of give that luxury feel with the single use inside. It's just a great way of combining the two, isn't it, really?
Absolutely, and it doesn't even have to be like a full scrummy sandwich. Just by reducing what's used underneath the guest might make a difference, you know?
Yeah, and I love this term scrummy sandwich. I think that's going to be the way forward now. Oh, okay. I've really appreciated it because, like as I said to you, I did see this piece on Global Wellness Institute talking about the trend, and I instantly thought, Scrummy, it'd be interesting to hear your take on it. So it's been really interesting, and thank you so much for your time today.
Oh, you're very welcome. It's an absolute pleasure. Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.